statement, then we'll go to our radio crew.
Got it. Obviously a nail biter. It came down to the last few possessions. And, I thought Carlik, had the ability to get in the lane. I thought we did a really good job for the most part of containing the ball, gapping off people we needed to gap off of. They've got a really good look at it with DJ Stewart at the top, but it was, off of a scrambled situation. It was one of those things where an offensive rebound got kicked out, and, at that point, guys are just trying to rotate out and scramble. Really thankful that he missed the shot. But, I thought some things that stuck out. I thought David Johnson's defense on Matthew Hurt was exceptional. Just watching him in games prior to ours, anytime Matt had a guard on him, if a team switched to ball screen, if they had a smaller player, they would post him up. And, they posted Quinn up to start the second half, and, a couple mistakes by Quinn, a couple great plays by Matt. We didn't feel comfortable continuing to go down that route, and then Quinn got another foul, so we put David on him. I don't know how many times he touched the ball in the post, but it couldn't have been more than one or two, for the last 15 minutes or so. We're very fortunate. He's a special offensive player. Some of those step backs, one of the coaches was saying, like, who do you want to put on him? Do you want to put Dre on him? Do you want to put Quinn? Who do you, Sam, David? I said, the shots he hit in the first half, it doesn't matter who we put on him. He's got such a high release, extreme confidence. But obviously in the second half, we didn't allow him to post up with David being on him. So I thought that was a huge deal. Carlik being able to get in the lane, draw fouls, and knock his free throws in really clinched the game. And I thought our guys off the ball, on guys that we felt like were more drivers, we really did a good job of keeping the defense tight. And that's what we needed to do in order to win the game. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up, is felt like they were one of the best offensive rebounding teams in our league. They were averaging over 13 offensive rebounds. To hold them to 6, we did the job there. So it's hard. You lose a couple games in a row. You got young players. They want to win. Their habits aren't where they need to be yet. But for them to have the resiliency and the fight to come out against Duke and get a win, we're excited and we'll take it.
Get myself off mute there. You kind of hinted at what I wanted to ask you about. I know it's just one game in January, but given a couple of losses in a row and it is still Duke, how big of a game was this? How big is winning this game for you and your team?
It's big. Every ACC win is a big win, Bob. You are always going to play against some players that you recruited. No matter what team you play in this league, there's always a guy that got away, because this is a high-level players league. No one has more high-level players than Duke, albeit there's some young kids. But you watch a guy like Joey Baker, for example. He's not necessarily their premier guy, and he just comes in and bangs a three and does it like he's as comfortable as he is at a rec center. So it's a big win for our team. Would it have been the end of the world had we lost? No, because I really liked our fight. But I told our staff it would have felt like, I was the Cincinnati Bengals coach after a loss, because we weren't playing for another 7 days, and that's a long time in college basketball to sit on an L. So happy that we were fortunate enough to be on the winning side.
Obviously, every game you go out to win. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but I was talking on the broadcast, and I'd like your thoughts. I said I think it was just very important that they had a next play mentality today, that they came out and if something went wrong, boom, rather than dwelling on it, they made the next play. And I thought you guys did really well about that. Was that kind of a mindset going into this game?
Yeah, you get a couple buckets in a row and you feel like, hey, it's at 6 points, and then it's a turnover, 3. And, Duke's that program that's not going to quit, that's going to make big-time plays. That's really important for our team, a next play mentality. Not getting too high or too low in this league is really important. Our young guys are certainly learning that. But, my biggest thing after our Florida State loss, Bob, was this. there are certain things that don't require skill level that should be non-negotiables. Running back defensively as hard as you can and telling your teammates who you're matching up to. And sometimes, we focus on a missed shot that we just had, a missed opportunity of an offensive rebound that went out of my hands, frustration maybe from the play, like that ball should have got swung. And instead of being in the present moment of I got to run hard, sprint back, and do things that don't require effort, our mind is as a newer players on the wrong things. So I don't know if we took a step up, we were better, but I just think that's a non-negotiable when you play at this level. You have to be able to do things that don't require skill and that require effort. And I thought our guys gave great effort today.
Take me to a few specific things about the game. You have you do it every game now, it seems. You take a timeout after a second half score. What's your thought behind that? You've done this, I think, 4 games in a row now. Is there a reason you do that?
I don't necessarily plan that I want to, get a timeout after a score. But, if a team goes on a run where it's like they score every time down the floor and we're not doing things correctly, certainly every coach, when another team goes on an 8-0 run, Bob's going to call timeout. But, an 8-8 run where you don't get one defensive stop and you're really, either screwed up or whatever it is, like, we've got 3 in our pocket coming out of halftime. Like we have to make sure that we're functioning in all cylinders the right way, in my opinion. I'm just comfortable with that. I'm not going to say, hey, we're fine, because we're not fine. Now the ball doesn't go in the basket a few times in a row and we keep doing the same things defensively, we're going to find ourselves in a deficit. So that was my approach. And for us, defense has to be first. Speaking
of defense, there was a possession in the second half where they were trying to post up Hurt, as you already talked about, and Johnson, and Sam Williamson and David would not let them throw it in the post. And that's the first time I've seen collectively you guys do such a good job of simply not allowing the ball to come in the post. I don't know if that's something you worked on or just, again, I know it takes some skill to do that, but that's an effort play, isn't it? And you have to be happy about that.
Effort and awareness. And we knew that Duke, especially if they go 2 or 3 times down the floor without a score, they're going to put Hurt on the block. They could pin down and have him post up after the pin down. They could back screen him in there. They could ball screen and roll him in there. That was a huge emphasis. And so, as you saw in the first half, if he touches the ball and he's got such a high release, once he gets it above his chin, it's going in, or it's going up at least. And today it was going in. So we knew once a guard was on him with David, they're going to try to post him because he doesn't have necessarily the quickness matchup on David on the perimeter. Thought David did a phenomenal job. And collectively, that's Duke's lowest point total of the year. I think 67 was the lowest coming in. And so, Jalen Johnson's back. I know he didn't have a great game, but, getting them a little bit more full strength for us to hold them to 65, I'm proud of our guys' effort.
A real quick comment, 2 ones in, we'll go quickly here. But Carlik, to hit those free throws after playing 40 minutes, I mean, that says something about – that's got to be a little fatigue factor in there, and he just played right through everything.
Yeah, I don't worry about Carlik in the pivotal moments of a game. I was really shocked, to be quite honest, that he missed that chippy layup after he got all the way down there. I'm sure he'd like to have that one back. I'm used to that thing going in. But he's a gamer. He's been that way his whole life, and this level, this stage doesn't affect that.
I can't help it, the ex-coach in me. What's the conversation between you and your staff? Mike has no timeouts left. You're up 3, and then you called a timeout, and I'm saying, now he's got a chance to draw a play. How did you weigh that up to decide you're going to take time out there?
Well, I want you to think about this. Some of the end game situations where Hunter Couture for Virginia Tech got a 3-point shot, really uncontested, although it was further out. It was a lack of communication. Again, young players, inexperienced guys in that moment. At the end of the Kentucky game, they get a look right in front of the bench because we don't match up properly. And so, I would rather him draw something up that we have to defend to make sure that our guys know maybe we're switching handoffs and ball screens, what they may run. And that's first shots a lot of times don't beat you, second shots do, which almost happened today with DJ Stewart. So almost like the dad that walks out on the baseball field during T-ball and tells his son where to run from first to second. That was my entrance stage left.
Congratulations, Chris. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
We'll go to media questions now. First from Russ.
Yeah, Chris, Russ Brown. You touched on this, but after all the discussion that you mentioned on the bench, why did you finally decide to put David on hurt?
Just felt like, Hurt was really hurting us, ironically, in the first half with his perimeter game. I know that he scored a couple buckets around the basket, but, we didn't necessarily feel like anybody could be better than David. David's been in that moment before, guarding talented players around the basket. When we played Seton Hall, if you remember, Sandro, the big left-handed senior, who's an unbelievable player, first-team All-Big East guy, David did the best job. And so we felt like David wouldn't get overpowered on the box. And at the same time, there's no real advantage that Hurt has on David on the perimeter. That's why we settled on him.
Go to Tim and then Shannon.
Yeah, Chris, kind of a follow-up on that. He had 20 of their first 40 points, and you had a timeout, I think, at 17-13. Was that when you made the switch? And what concerns did you have given the 4-inch and 25-pound difference?
Yeah, I don't know if that was the exact possession that we did the switch. We could have done it on the fly, Tim, but I think it was certainly discussed over and over in the huddle, because if David's fronting, they say they have a height advantage, and we didn't want the ball to be lobbed over David's head with no weak side help. So as important as it was for David to give great effort, awareness on some of the things they were going to run for Hurt, we felt like it was just as important for guys off the ball in help side to have great recognition that they're going to try to post David. Sam was mentioned before by Bob, so I'm not sure if it was the exact time, but I know we discussed it at length in the timeout. Again, I think, defense, it's a lot of your heart and your IQ. David has a lot of both. And so while we gave up on inches, we also felt like we won the quickness battle if he even tried to go on the perimeter, which is where he was killing us in the first half. Still on mute, Tim.
On mute, Tim.
As a quick follow-up, it looked like you gave JJ a couple of minutes on him, I assume just to give David a break. Was that the thinking?
Yeah, I mean, the issue I think during that time was they actually moved Hurt to the 5. Primarily the entire game he was playing the 4 when Jalen Johnson was in, when Jamin Brakefield went in, when their grad transfer went in for a minute, Patrick Tape, I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name. But that was what happened at that point. JJ was the 5. It was quickly the ball handed in, and JJ just matched up to their biggest player. I think Wendell Moore was playing the 4.
Shannon?
You touched on this before, but because youthfulness of your team has been such a big part of this season, how important was it for them to get the confidence to come in, avoid a 3-game slide, and get a big win against Duke today?
It's not the end all, Shannon. I hate saying that we have young players, because I feel like, outwardly you got a cop out, but we every team in our league has a lot of young players. It just does. I mean, the guys in blue today had a lot of young players. But that you battle inconsistency. You battle not establishing habits that you quite want, especially without the summer. So that there's some possessions where you just sort of, you get frustrated, but that's it's reality. Did we want to win? Absolutely. And we put everything we could into win it. But had we not, again, being able to learn from failure, I know in today's age, failure is not an option, win every game, but, our guys are growing. It's nice as their coach to see them have success when they put in, the time and the effort that they are, but it doesn't guarantee success. And the only thing that we can do is continue to control our effort and our attitude, and again, try to continue to establish those habits.
And quick follow-up, was Josh Nickelberry, was he healthy today?
Yeah, he's fine. I chose to put Charles in ahead of Josh. I thought Charles is really served his time, away in terms of trying to get back from this injury. And so, I still have confidence in Josh. Right now, Charles went in ahead of him. We've got a lot of practices before we play next game. Nothing's in cement. We started a different lineup today. So, if that bothers you too much, then you're not going to have the response that we're looking for. If it does bother you and you go out and do something about it, then you'll earn that opportunity to play.
Go to Michael and then Aaron for last.
Right. I never thought about it.
Hey, Chris, Michael McCammon here. You mentioned you started a new lineup today. What led to that decision, and what was the reaction of both Quinn and Sam when they learned about how that would be flipped?
I told our team in the locker room after the Florida State game that I was going to start the guys that I felt like were the most effective in practice. And so that's who I started, the guys I felt like were more effective in practice. Anytime you go from being a starter to coming off the bench, it's how you take it. I remember my years at Xavier. We had a kid named James Posey who went from starting to sixth man and had a 14-year NBA career and won a couple world titles. So it worked out for him. But, you can either be accepting and go out and play with vim and vigor and do your thing, or you can feel sorry for yourself. And I thought Sam did a great job today. I thought he brought great energy, got 6 rebounds. I thought his defense was way better than it's been, especially in the second half. And so, nothing's in cement. I don't know. We got a lot of practices between now and when we play again. And so, again, with a young team, we don't have necessarily Jordan Wara, who's been a 3-year starter. We don't have guys that, have been here 3 or 4 years. And that's okay. So we're going to continue to build those habits and put out the guys we feel are the most effective in practice.
We're going to take 2 more from Aaron and then Kent.
Chris, Aaron Matus with WDRB. Just wanted to ask, because I think it's been about 12 weeks, at least from the original time frame that Malik's injury was announced. First off, how crazy does it make him to have to be in sweats for these games? And second, is he getting anywhere close to not being in sweats?
Yeah, I hope that it drives him crazy. I don't want there to be acceptance and complacency of just, I'm the guy that sits out. I know that sounds weird, but, having been a guy that went through a couple ACLs and sat out 2.5 straight years, you sort of get used to being that guy on the side. And I know he's getting anxious. He continues to do things each and every day that, don't require him to be in a boot. He's still nowhere, ready to start practice. I think when we turn to February, we'll be closer to that. My hope is that we have him sometime mid-February, but as I said last game, I still don't know when that exact time will be. He's doing everything he can to get his body in great shape. Playing shape is different from cardiovascular, but we're working on that cardiovascular on the bike, in the weight room, everything we can do to ease that transition.
Last one from Kent.
Chris, just a quick 2-parter. To have a guy like Jalen in the second half, it seemed like when you guys almost kind of needed something, he was always around the ball. And the second part of it is it comforting as a coach knowing you have a guy like Carlik who can take over a game?
I got to do more to get Jalen a little bit more effective. I shouldn't say effective, just a little bit more usage. He's certainly not your typical center, and we've got to be able to try to take advantage of that. But man, he's really having an excellent year for a redshirt freshman. He really is. I'm really hard on Jalen in practice. He probably thinks I don't like him, but he's got so much potential. He basically sits out the first 16 minutes at Miami, Florida, and gets 18 and 12. He's in la-la land the first 3 minutes, and we bench him the next 12 or 13. Tonight he did some great things. And then to answer your question, it's really comforting to have a guy that can make some plays like Carlik can down the stretch.
Great. Thank you, Coach. We'll be back with some players.